Welcome to Business Zone, where we'll give you insights into happenings in the world of business that's across the African continent. I am Tolu Lokpe Ogujobi. Welcome. Well, starting off with some news stories now. Kenya's power distributor has launched a nationwide illegal connection survey after discovering fraudsters were cashing in on the government's multi-billion shillings. Our last mile connectivity project aimed at increasing electricity connections across the country. In a statement, Kenya's power said it would pursue cartels behind the vice and dismantle all illegal connections. The parastatal warned that their consequences awaited vandals since penalties have been enhanced and currently stands at 1 year jail or the fine of R1 million or both. Mozambique Central Bank has bailed out the country's fourth largest commercial lender in a move it says was needed to prevent the failure of its banking system. The African country has been grappling with a liquidity crunch aggravated by International Monetary Fund and foreign donors cutting off support over loans that were not approved by the parliament or disclosed publicly. The central bank has guaranteed all deposits at Monzabanco, fired its boards and taken over its day-to-day operations. Monzabanco got into difficulties this year due to a rapid expansion of its branch network and an incomplete recapitalization from shareholders. The central bank says it would appoint an evaluation committee and set up a general meeting for the recapitalization of sales of Monzabanco. The World Bank Group says two of its units would provide another $517 million to Ghana in debt and guarantees to support the $7.7 billion Sakanfo oil and gas project developed by Italy's ENI Spar and upstream trader Vito Ghana. The financing adds to a $700 million World Bank guarantee package announced in July and brings the institution's total financing to around $1 billion for the offshore project, whose gas component is set to open in 2018. Ghana first began pumping oil in 2010 at the offshore Jubilee field operated by Tulu Oil PLC, a British company that this August opened a second field called TEN. Sakonfa is expected to generate about 1,000 megawatts of power for Ghana, and combined with gas from two other new fields could eliminate the need for Ghana to import gas from Nigeria through the West African Gas Pipeline Company. Private firms from the United Kingdom have revealed plans to invest over $1 billion, that's more than 300 billion naira, in the transport sector of the Nigerian economy. The investment is expected to come on stream within 18 months and are aimed at improving the operations of Nigeria's maritime, railway and aviation industries. The planned projects were fallout of an investment forum that took place in London on November the 29th, which was attended by representatives of both Nigeria and the UK. Nigeria's Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, led a team of chief executive officers of various agencies of government under his ministry to the forum, while the UK government team was led by the parliamentary under the Secretary of State for Transport, Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon. A leadership of Nigeria's Association of Small and Medium-Scale Enterprises have commended the Nigerian government and the Federal Inland Revenue Service, that's the agency in charge of tax, for the extension of tax penalties and interest waivers to their members. They say efforts made by the government will help promote micro, small and medium enterprises operating in the country. We have details for you in this report. The Nigerian government has continued to seek ways of improving the present business environment in the country, which remains very challenging. Some of the moves by the government involves the review of national tax policies, extension of tax penalties and interest waivers period to December the 31st, 2016 for members of the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. Operators say this is a step in the right direction.
If they can get this rebate, it's a lot of money. And we thank the federal government for doing that. A lot of our people will go back into the tax net. And in the event that more people are paying, bigger money will come into the government covers, and those that are already paying, those that are loyal, will continue to pay what they are doing. So this will be additional, because a lot of our colleagues are out there who currently are not within the tax net.
According to Smedan statistics, you have over 37 million MSMEs in Nigeria. But out of that figure, about 700,000 are registered with CAC, and only about 200 plus pay tax. But by opening up such a window and giving amnesty to some of us who are owing, you'll be able to broaden the tax base in Nigeria, and that is what the objectives are. That's the goal we're trying to achieve. A situation where informal business is bigger than the formal sector is unacceptable. Let everybody come in and join government in this initiative.
They added that this intervention by the Federal Inland Revenue Service with regards to special waivers and interest will help attract more business owners to the group and increase revenue generation for government.
A lot of the MSMEs will be brought into the tax net, which will bring more revenue to the government. The other impact is that a lot of, currently as it is today, there is a serious plan to ensure that MSMEs are integrated into the procurement system in the country. SMEs can bid for procurement of government contracts and services. And if you are not a tax-paying company, if you are not a tax-paying MSME, you cannot venture into that. So as you are paying that, then you are credible. You will be okay to vie for this type of procurement.
The Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises is saddled with the responsibility of coordinating the activities of micro and medium enterprises in the country, in line with the diversification agenda. Away from that now, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has suspended the elimination of the country's largest denomination bill. Its ban led to cash shortages and nationwide unrest, saying the measure will be postponed until early January. The surprise pulling of the 100 Bolivian note from circulation last week before new larger bills were available led to long queues at banks and later looting at scores of shops. A number of anti-government protests took place across the nation and at least one death was recorded. President Maduro, speaking from the presidential palace, blamed the sabotage on campaigns by enemies of the country abroad who delayed the arrival of 3 planes carrying the new 500, 2,000 and 20,000 Bolivian notes. Maduro had justified the 100 Bolivian notes elimination as a way of strangling the mafia and smugglers on the frontier with Colombia.
I have decided to extend the validity of the 100 Bolivian bill for circulation, commercialization, and legal economic activity within the Bolivian border until January the 2nd, 2017, as of this moment. I am extending the closure of the border with Brazil and Colombia until January the 2nd, reinforcing all security measures and calmly establishing a humanitarian and family zone.
Well, from there now, there is no Christmas without rice, just as there is no Christmas without chicken. Well, after this break, we will tell you warnings to Nigerians regarding consumption of expired rice, a very topical and important issue. Stay with us on Business Zone. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying tuned. Now, do you know that large quantities of expired and bad rice abound in Nigeria's markets? This is unknown to many Nigerians. TVC News correspondent made some startling revelations in this investigative report.
Rice is the most important staple food for a large part of the world's human population, and Nigeria is not an exception. Available statistics indicate that Nigerians consume nearly 6 million tons of rice per year, and the country has imported 24 million metric tons of rice valued at $8.86 billion from Thailand, Pakistan, India, United States, and Vietnam in the last 10 years. What this points to is that Nigerians largely consume foreign imported rice. But recent reports have shown that a good number of rice in the country's markets are smuggled through the land borders, raising concerns over an alarm by the Nigerian Customs Service indicating that more than 90% of those imports are expired. Bags of visibly bagged rice with green molds are being sieved and rebagged for sale, and traders are rebagging rice on bags of popular brands. Some of the traders affirm that large quantities of the rice sold at the market are actually smuggled through the land borders.
Nigerian rice, you buy it here at the rate of 25,000, 26,000. It's not even convenient at all. The one we struggle ourselves to buy through border or Cotonou is the one we're selling here, which is cheaper even to Nigeria.
A visit to the Idiroko border area in Ogun State and the Seme border, which links Lagos to the Republic of Benin, reaffirms the position of the Customs Service with regards to the proliferation of smuggled expired rice in the country. This customs warehouse in Seme stores thousands of seized bags of smuggled rice that have clearly gone bad. The situation is not different at the Idiroko Customs Command.
They pass through the bushes and pass through areas where rains and anything can beat the rice. So that's why it's not good for consumption. All the rice must come through the ports so that everybody will be certified. All the companies that are importing the rice will now have their stamp and things like that, and they have the certificate, and the NAFDAC has okayed the rice.
A random interview at this market reveals that some Nigerians do not usually bother to check if rice is expired, and for others, there is a new awakening.
We are not that way inclined. That culture has to be developed. We have to do something about it because it's a risk to the life of people.
Before, they don't ask, but of recent, they check this expiring date due to this issue of this video that came out of recent about rubber rice.
What we are seeing now on the net, you see plastic rice, all manner of things, so you really need to check.
As arguments continue to rage over this issue, many are of the view that Nigerian rice traders find it more lucrative smuggling rice through the land borders, not minding the consequences, as long as the duty on importation through the nation's seaports remains high. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, I earlier had a chat with the public health physician, Dr. Doyin Odubanjo, who is of the opinion that it is not about the expiration per se, rather it's about storage and other issues, which he made his position known on the issue of expired rice.
Terminology to use. Because on a good day, such a grain product as rice, if properly stored, shouldn't have such problems as expiry per se. But then it does expire on the basis of storage largely. So if it's not properly stored, that's what I'm trying to say, that is when you really do have problems with it. And that's when you should be wary of it. However, if it's properly stored, we're talking of years of storage. Some actually believe it does not ever expire, but on the average it will take you 5 to 8 years thereabout before you can even start worrying about anything. Technology expiry, so it's not the expiry that's the issue, it's the fact that has this rice gone bad or not. I think that's the real issue. It's not per se about the dates, and if it's gone bad, it means that there's probably a problem with the storage. And if there's a problem with the storage, it means that it's been contaminated, and if it's contaminated by what? And that portends the danger therein. Well, first the question will be, does anyone have any real evidence of this? Has anyone seen it before? Have we ever found it for real, or is just something on the social media? Because now we also know that there's a lot of what we call fake news around, and especially on the media, on the social media. You'll find videos, you find things, you even find fake news sites. You know, so has anyone ever seen one at all? Because it begs the question, why would anybody go to the extent in plastic manufacturing of trying to manufacture plastic rice? You know, what would it take to manufacture that? It's not an easy task either, you know, and so why would you go through all of that length? And it's easily detectable. You know, you can't cook it, you can't do it, it will be easy to find out. So the question is, have you really seen one at all in the market? One of the things about Nigeria is that it's such a fantastic place, naturally speaking. Nigeria has one of the, has large land span, which is quite, what do you call it, which is good for agriculture in general. So Nigeria is that kind of place where we have not maximized our potential yet. We are far able to increase our production of food in general and of rice in particular, which we're discussing now. So we can do it, and we have an unemployed labor force, of young people who are unemployed, which again is a rarity in many developed countries. They have a lot of old people. People are living longer because of their health system and all of that, which is very good. But then they are having fewer children. We still have a number of children. Our fertility per woman of childbearing age is still large enough. And we have very young people who are agile, who are capable of working, and we have the land and we have the weather. So we are very capable of actually doing this if we put our minds to it and we strategize appropriately. And well, if we were not going to get on that track, I think the challenges with the oil prices now is compelling us to look at that track, which is the right track, that we must diversify. And one of the first things you must do as any country is that you must be able to feed yourself. If you are really thinking about being sustainable as a country, surviving the times ahead as a country, being a sovereign nation, you can't be a sovereign nation when you're being fed by others. So you must be able to feed yourself. So it's the absolute right thing to do now. It's always about price at the end of the day. It's always about what does it cost, how affordable is it now, how affordable can it be, and what are the options for people. It also affects what we were talking about earlier on in terms of our ability to achieve sustainability locally, which is that if you must achieve any of such things, then what we should also be aiming for is that our local pricing at the end of the day of what we produce must be cheaper than anything that comes in from outside the country. So if we say, buy made in Nigeria goods and all of that, the first question is how much would they cost us? Is it cheaper to actually go and import something from wherever, China, US or wherever, and bring it in here? If by the time you bring it in, it's cheaper than what the man who worked here to produce his own will bring to me, then it's a losing game. So somehow, some way, we must find a way to increase production and also ensure, if you are increasing production, you must ensure that the production environment is very suitable, thereby making it also very cheap or relatively cheap, not very cheap, relatively cheap, so that at the end of the day, the product that we produce, the rice we grow here, comes out into the market at a cheaper rate than all of that. And then there will be no reason to smuggle anyway, to go and bring it from wherever you are bringing it in. Because if that one costs you 20,000, the Nigerian one costs you 10,000, it's foolishness to buy the outside one. You might still buy it maybe for class reasons, ego reasons, but most people would automatically switch. Not embrace our own if it costs me 3 times as much as another one, and they are just as good, or even the other one is better. Then going for the local one would be foolishness. Nigerians have a high taste, actually. Yeah. So whatever you produce, you can't say because also you're trying to make it cheaper, it becomes poorer quality. That will not be acceptable to Nigerians. Nigerians have a good taste. Take it or leave it. So first and foremost, the quality must be ensured. But then you must also ask yourself, how can we ensure quality, but also still ensure affordability? Affordability must never be out of that equation. Otherwise, we will not succeed at what we're trying to do. But there's no escaping it. We've done it before. We've curtailed it before. But the usual thing is you have to circumscribe where you found it, and probably have to call, which is basically kill the birds in that farm or wherever, so that you are hoping that you have been able to localize, that event to that area, to that farm. And of course, one of the things we must always have, therefore, is an effective monitoring system, monitoring and reporting system, so that if you then find out that you have another incident somewhere else, maybe nearby or something, you immediately also do the same thing. That way, you are likely to stop the spread as soon as possible and keep it as localized as possible.
Well, Dr. Doyin Odubanjo there, he's a public health physician, and he gave his views on the issue of expired rice. And this has actually brought to the fore again the issue of food sufficiency, particularly across the African continent, which has to talk about the intra-African trade that needs to be promoted, bringing things that we have to help each other, particularly when it comes to food. It is very important. Sustainability, pricing, standards and quality has all been brought to the fore again. Well, let's see how it all plays out there. Now, finally on the show now, crude oil prices showed marked improvement in the world market early on Monday. Now, the London market, the Brent crude trades at $55 per barrel, gaining about 17 cents. Analysts talk about market response to the recent production quote by OPEC members. The OPEC cartel's prime price stays upwards. That's at $51 for a barrel. But that's our package for you today on the show. My name is Tolu Lokpe Ogunjobi. Join us again another time for more insightful analysis. I'll leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands today. On behalf of the entire production crew, it's bye for now.